Hello! In this video, we're going to add a price for a particular city and type it into our software. First, click on the Business Info button. Then, click on Set Price. Then, select the Set Price option. This is where you will define the association between a type of service and a city. Click on the Add button to add a price for a specific city and type. You will then view fields for defining a set of fees for a specific city of a particular type. At this juncture, you will need to add a country. For our example, we will select United States of America. Then, designate a city for specific pricing. For instance, choose California from the provided list to ensure pricing is tailored to this specific location within the designated country. Once the city is defined, you will encounter different price types: normal, carpool, and open ride. For example, the carpool option is for ride-sharing, while the open ride option is for creating a trip for sharing on-time purposes. Proceed with the normal option for regular customers. Now, let's select normal. Specify a vehicle type by choosing sedan. This selection enables users to establish trip pricing for a sedan specifically in a city. As users initiate a trip, they can view the sedan pricing for the designated city, facilitating transparent information on trip costs. Following that, proceed to the price configuration where various fields are available. Initially, focus on the driver profit field. Here, you can establish the driver's profit percentage for each trip. By setting the profit percentage, the driver receives a portion of the trip amount as their earnings when the profit is finalized. Then, define the distance for the base price. We've established a fixed distance for the base price, indicating that the distance needs to be specified. For computing the initial price based on the covered distance. After that, we set the base value for the distance. In this step, we establish a fixed value for the specified distance range. For example, if we set the base price to 10 from 2 kilometers, any trip within 2 kilometers will be charged at this fixed rate. Considering whether the customer travels 1 kilometer or 2 km, the price will be calculated based on the established base price of 10. Establish the pricing structure based on distance traveled. For instance, set the initial price for the first 2 kilometers at 10. Then, establish the per unit distance rate, such as 5 per additional kilometer. This allows for calculating the total trip price based on time and distance traveled. Then, establish the per unit distance rate, such as 2 per additional kilometer. This allows for calculating the total trip price based on time and distance traveled. Introduce a time-based pricing component by setting the rate at 1 per minute. For instance, during periods of heavy traffic where time becomes a significant factor, this rate will be applied. This dual pricing structure enables the computation of the overall trip cost, factoring in both time spent and distance covered. Establish the waiting time, which begins after a certain duration, typically per minute. During this period, when the driver has arrived at the pickup location and is waiting for the user, a grace period of free minutes can be provided to the user for waiting without incurring additional charges. Later on, we can decide on a fee for waiting. Initially, the waiting charge begins when the driver reaches the pickup spot, and any free waiting time ends at that moment.
If the customer is delayed, and the customer arrives afterward, the waiting fee applies during that time until the trip officially starts. Moving forward, we can include free waiting time for multiple locations. This waiting period comes into play when a customer plans a trip with multiple locations. For instance, if a customer sets up a trip with a pickup location, destination, and additional stops in between, the free waiting time is applicable. This operates similarly to the standard free waiting time. Following that, we can set the pricing for free waiting time during trips involving multiple locations. In cases where a customer plans a trip with multiple stops and the driver pauses the trip at each location, the free waiting time initiates when the driver stops at a location added by the customer. Nevertheless, once the free waiting period expires at a particular stop, charges will be incurred for any extra waiting time at that location. The following field is min fare, representing the minimum charge for a trip. The purpose of the minimum fare is to ensure a minimum amount is taken from the customer for the trip. For instance, if the min fare is set at 15 and the fixed fare for a trip is 23, the min fare will apply. This is applicable regardless of whether the actual trip cost is 12 or 13. Lastly, we'll move on to tax settings. There are different types of settings for tax, like customer tax, driver tax, and many more. Here, we can also add some other fees, like customer miscellaneous fees, driver miscellaneous fees, and cancellation fees. In this setup, we offer cancellation fees as a deterrent to customers who frequently misuse our platform by creating and canceling trips. The cancellation fee kicks in when the customer initiates the trip, the driver accepts it, and is all set to head to the pickup location. Opting to cancel the trip at this point incurs a cancellation fee. We offer a tax option where you can set the tax as a percentage. Taxes serve the purpose of supplying the government with funds for spending without causing inflation. The government uses taxes for various objectives, including the funding of public infrastructure and the support of development and welfare projects.
These settings are utilized to apply a service tax calculated as a percentage and charged to the customer based on the total cost of the trip. Following that, we establish customer miscellaneous fees. This field is designed to collect various charges from customers, such as service fees, booking charges, and other similar fees. We can also configure customer taxes. This feature is typically employed to collect various taxes from customers worldwide. It allows us to set different taxes for customers based on specific criteria. Afterward, we've covered some of the use cases for driver miscellaneous fees in our product. This section is created to gather diverse charges from drivers. You can use miscellaneous fees to deduct certain fees from the earnings received by your drivers, including service fees, fees for initiated trips, and other similar charges. We can set up driver taxes to collect different taxes from drivers around the world. This helps us apply specific taxes based on certain criteria for each driver. After configuring all the taxes, the next step is to enable various settings such as specifying the type of business allowed in a particular city, granting car rental permissions, and adjusting other related settings. The most crucial aspect of these settings is the business toggle. This toggle is employed to authorize a specific type of business in a particular city. For example, in California City, we can set prices for sedan types. When the toggle is switched on, we can conduct business, and customers can view this type in that city with all the specified details. However, if the toggle is switched off, we do not offer this type of business in that city. Next, we proceed to configure the car rental business for a specific type in a designated city. In this setting, we can set prices for rental trips when the toggle is switched on. When the toggle is enabled, customers can view and book rental trips for this specific type in the designated city. Conversely, if the toggle is turned off, customers won't be able to view or book this car rental type in that city. Next, we proceed to set up the zone business. The zone business involves designating specific areas, such as bus stations, popular landmarks, and even zones like airports or railway stations. This toggle allows us to authorize fixed pricing for these designated zones within the city. When the toggle is switched on, we can apply fixed pricing for the specified zones. However, if the toggle is turned off, we cannot apply zone pricing for the added zones in the city. Next, we grant permission for surge hours. Surge hours are designated for times when there is a high demand for taxis, typically during rush hours, peak periods like special events, or inclement weather even, and when there are fewer drivers available. During surge hours, consumers may experience an increase in prices. In this setting, we have the ability to configure surge hours for specific days and times. Finally, review all the fields to ensure accuracy, and then proceed to submit all the details by clicking on the Submit button. Congratulations! You have successfully set up the price for a specific city and type within our software. Please refer back to this guide whenever you need to review the process. I appreciate your time and attention in viewing this video. Thank you for watching.